Hi, Mr. Robinson.
What up? How's it going? Welcome in geometers. We got just about half. We'll get going in a second. Today is pretty basic stuff, pretty easy. Today we're just going to work on that first homework assignment and hopefully get it up. And of course, whenever it's up, feel free to head out. The first page of it's real easy. It's literally just asking you to take the geometric mean of two numbers. The second page is the one that interests me, the one where we actually have to do some thinking and set up some similar triangles in order to get the correct answer. So today we'll do that for the warm up using a bit of a word problem, a real life situation. Oh yeah, oops, sorry, I forgot to put, heck, wait, did anybody start yet?
No.
Give me 1 second, I made a mistake.
All right.
Oops, 1 point. Two mistakes. Okay, fixed. So a bivy has the following dimensions. The length down here is 0.8. This length is 1.6. This is a 90-degree angle. And then this is 0.8 meters. So my question to you is, how much headroom is there inside of this bivy? So number one, what's a bivy? Anybody know?
Is it like a tent?
It is a tent, yeah, except it's made for exactly one person. So if you were sleeping in a bivy, this is your head, and then this is like the rest of you. And then usually you leave a little bit of space in the bottom here so that you could kick your gear down there, like any extra gear that you have. And my bivy has this really nice pocket right here up top. So you can put your pocket stuff in there. Like I lay down backwards in it. And then up top, I like toss my wallet and my keys and my pocket knife and all that other stuff. And the other nice thing about having that pocket up above your head is at night you could like put your cell phone in there and watch a thing and have it just like dangle right above you. So my question is, how much headroom is there on the inside of this bivy if the lengths are 1.8, 1.6, and 0.8, which is the same as me saying, well, how tall is the bivy when it's set up? What is that height there at H? And for when we do this problem, just so that we all agree what the letters are, I'm going to say that this is corner B, this is corner I, this is corner V, and this point down here where it touches the bottom to make our altitude, that'll be Y. And so, using the properties of similar triangles and the geometric mean that we talked about yesterday, figure out what is the altitude of my bivy. And just so y'all know, here's a look at a bivy. Real small, like I said, it's a tent for one person and one person only. So if you went camping with a group, you don't share a bivy. Each person who's out sets up their own.
It
What
looks
do
like a body bag.
Yeah, it basically is, yeah. It's a waterproof body bag with like a rail to keep it supported and a few strings so that you can tie it to the ground so it doesn't blow around in the wind. What do y'all think is the point of a bivy?
To save space.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. This is for backpacking, not for normal camping. It's also why it's so expensive. It's $230 for a tiny tent when you can get like a 4-person family tent from Coleman for like $70 for a way bigger tent. The big deal is that they're a lot smaller. So like a tent, the smallest that you could pack a tent down would be this big. When a bivy is packed all the way down, it's basically the size of like a mug. So if you're backpacking and you're trying to cut down on weight, this is a good way to do it. Or a lot of people who go bike packing, where you pack up a bike and take that to your campsite. So all the space that you have are your like saddlebags and your front carry bag and maybe a small backpack on your back. You know, you're trying to save as much space as possible. And to do that, you can pack up in a bivy.
It's cool.
Yeah, I tried to, I just thought real hard. I was like, man, what's a case where we could actually talk about something that isn't just geometry? And this was the best I got. The other thing you can do, and the only bummer about this is that you can only like do this if the weather is nice. Do you guys know that they make hammock tents?
That's so cool.
Yeah, I really like hammock tents, but the weather does have to be pretty nice because if it's windy when you're out camping inside of a backpacking tent, you can have a really bad time because you're just going to get blown back and forth in the wind. Let me show you what it looks like. So a camping hammock is even lighter to carry than a bivy because usually they have no frame whatsoever. The only thing is that you have to be able to find 2 trees to set it up on. So if you can't find trees where you're backpacking, you're sleeping on the ground with no cushion, right? But all it is it's just a regular hammock, but the extra thing is on top. It comes with a rain fly to protect you from the rain and a bug net to protect you from bugs. So you set it up between 2 trees, hang your backpack in a nearby branch, and then you can fold up inside the tent and sleep in it.
What if you like hang your backpack and like an animal comes and eats everything or something?
That is a horrible situation that is possible, which is why it's important if you have the luxury to keep your food in a bear container. And there are 2 different kinds of bear canisters. There are hard ones and soft ones. So you could put it inside of like a hard shell bear container and that'll keep bears away. They also make these soft bear containers that are designed to be rip proof and smell proof so that they're not attracted to the smell.
They're
But
so expensive.
What about like a raccoon?
camping gear is wicked expensive. This should also defend against raccoons. Raccoons can't get this. I mean, heck, I can barely get mine open. These are really hard to open because it's like a medication bottle. You have to press in while twisting. It's not just a screw top. And yeah, camping gear is all wicked expensive. It is a fancy people hobby, sadly. But to be honest, the nice stuff about all this gear is that it lasts forever. So once you put your kit together the first time, it'll probably cost like $500. If you look around on Facebook Marketplace or other places where they have secondhand goods, you could probably get the cost down by half. But yo, once you have your gear, man, you have your gear. I haven't bought new camping gear in like 5 years and it all still rocks. The other thing to look out for is that REI, they have a seasonal sale, and yo, that sale is no joke. When they have their sale at the end of the year, their expensive gear goes on for like half off or like 75% off. So like, it's usually called the REI spring sale. You can go to that once the world is back open, and it's like one of the best ways that you can build out your kit. The other type thing that REI does is they actually have swap meets where if you have camping gear that like you don't use anymore or whatever, you can go trade it with other people who just want to trade gear. So when I upgraded my tent, I was able to take my old tent and I traded it to a homie in exchange for some cooking supplies. It was a good deal for both of us. Okay, are y'all ready to calculate the height of this bivy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what we're solving for here is h. Now, if I want h is going to be the geometric mean of by and yv, right? That's what we learned yesterday. That the height h is going to be equal to the square root of by multiplied by yv. And this is the special case when we have an altitude inside of a right triangle. I know I didn't draw it that way. It's a little crunchy, but you know, just accept it. Also, these 3 numbers satisfy the Pythagorean theorem, so it has to be a right triangle. It's just the picture's ugly, yeah? And so how can I get by and yv? How can I get this segment and this segment? What am I gonna have to do here?
You could set up a proportion.
we're going to have to set up proportions so that I can get what BY and YV are separately, and that's only possible because we know that this setup will form 3 right triangles. So I'm going to say that my big outside triangle, triangle BIV, is going to be similar to 2 smaller triangles. And notice I'm putting the 90-degree angle I in the middle here, so our other 2 triangles are going to have to do that same thing. So let's name this triangle here, starting with B. But what's our 90-degree angle for the small triangle?
It's going to be Y.
It's going to be Y. So the big triangle BIV is mathematically similar to triangle BYI. Angle B, 90-degree angle, and then that other angle. And now we can do the same thing over here for our medium-sized triangle. The 90-degree angle has to go in the middle, and for the medium-sized triangle, what's the 90-degree angle?
It's going to be Y again.
Y.
Yep, still Y. Okay. So if I want to write my similarity statement, I know that V has to align with V. V came last, so I'll put that last over here. And so what letter has to go up top?
I.
I. So big triangle BIV is similar to triangle BYI, is also similar to triangle IYV. So now we can set up some ratios and use the lengths that we were given in order to solve for YV and for BY. After we do that, the rest is just using the geometric mean in order to figure out how much head space we're going to have when we try to go to sleep inside of this bivy. Also, if you're at home, just say bivy. It's a great fun word to say that we don't get to use very often. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and set up a proportion to solve for YV. So I'm going to compare this triangle to the big triangle, because for the big triangle, we have every single side length. So for the medium-sized triangle, I'm going to say that, well, YV is what I want. So YV divided by IV, and I'm going to use IV because that's a number I have, that's 1.6, has to be proportional to what? And for this, we can just rely on the letters. So YV is the last 2 letters. So what's that for the big triangle?
IV.
IV.
IV, which is 1.6,
Mm-hmm.
divided by, divided by IV. IV is the first letter and the last letter. So what's the first letter and the last letter for the big triangle?
BV.
BV. Both.
BV. And now we can solve for YV because we have these other 3 numbers. So YV divided by IV, which is 1.6,
1.6.
is going to be equal to 1.6 divided by BV, which is 1.8. So from here, we can now go ahead and cross multiply over 1.6. So our answer is going to be equal to 1.6 times 1.6 divided by 1.8. So that means YV is equal to 1.42. YV is equal to 1.42 meters. And just so you know, this is in meters, not feet. And 1.8 meters is about 6 feet tall. So these are reasonable measurements for a bivy. Okay, so if YV is equal to 1.42 meters, how can we get BY?
1.8 minus 1.42.
Correct, yeah. So we could set up another set of ratios in order to solve for this. That's too much work when we can just subtract. So BY must be equal to the total length of the bivy, 1.8, minus the length that we just solved for using proportions on YV, minus 1.42. And so, yes?
0.38.
0.38 meters is how much space we'll have from this highest position to the door of the bivy. And so we can now use BY and YV in order to get the height of our bivy. The height should be equal to the geometric mean of the 2 sublengths of the base. So this is going to be equal to 0.38 meters multiplied by 1.42 meters, then square rooted. So this will tell us how much head space we have to play with inside of our tent. 0.73 meters, which again is about right. That's just under 2 feet. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just over 2 feet, 2.4 feet of height on the inside there. So it just comes up to a little bit under your waist, or maybe about where your waist is if you're 5 feet tall.
How do you find out the square root of like a random number like this?
Square root.
Calculator?
That's a really good question. Go ahead and ask that question one more time.
How do you find the square root of like a random number like this?
And your question isn't like, how do you put it into your calculator? Your question is like, how does this exist?
Yeah.
So the answer to your question actually has to do with this idea called a logarithm. Yeah, your question is actually a question about logarithms, which is a mathematical function that you will learn about later. However, without getting too much into logarithms, I would say the following about how this square root is gotten. So you know how when we do square roots, right, when we try and simplify some of the nasty ones, we have some techniques that can help us out, right? So let's say that, for example, I have the square root of 75. What are the factors inside 75?
5 and 15?
Whoa, is that true?
Is it that?
Oh, it is 5 and 15. Okay, so I have 5 and 15. I was thinking 3 and 25, but this works. And then what are the factors inside 15?
3 and 5.
Cool, so the 5s pair off, they can leave together, but 3 doesn't get paired off, he's trapped inside. So this homie right here is equal to 5 root 3. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so if this was the 1800s, and I was an engineer and I was building a building in the 1800s, and I needed to know what this was, what I would do is I would go to a book, like literally a table of logarithms, and you could look up in that book, what is the square root of 3? And somebody smarter than us who lives in Scotland would have calculated it by hand out to 10 decimals. So if you want to know what is the square root of 75, you simplify it to this. You look up the square root of 3 at your local library, and then you take that decimal and multiply it by 5, and then that's how you get this answer if it's the 1800s.
It's a lot of work.
It is, yeah. Calculators have made our lives radically easier and in a lot of ways made us a lot dumber. So here's what I would say about what I'm actually, like what one is actually doing here when you are getting the square root of some rotten decimal. So before I just fed it to my calculator and believed what it said, if I were to do this, right, h is equal to 0.38 times 1.42, that would give me the following decimal. H is equal to 0.5396. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Now, I could approximate this, and I could say that this is going to be equal to the square root of about 0.54.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to break this up into a fraction. I'm going to say that this is approximately equal to, well, 0.54 is actually 54 divided by 100.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the square root of 1 divided by 100? Do y'all know what the rules are for taking square roots of fractions?
Is it 1 over 10?
It is, because when you take the square root of a fraction, you take the square root of the numerator and the denominator independently. So the square root of 4 over 9 is just 2 over 3, right? So here, on top, the square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 100 is 10. So I can take the square root of that and pull it out. So this should be equal to 1 over 100, 1 over 10 times the square root of 54. And then, as long as I factorize the 54, we can simplify this up too. So what are some factors inside of 54?
9 and 6.
Oh yeah, that's really good, yeah. So this is 9 times 6. And what is the square root of 9?
3.
Yep, 3, 3. And so if we were, again, doing this in the 1800s, trying to make this, well, this tent would have sucked in the 1800s, right? It would have been made out of oil skin and hemp rope, not the fancy plastics that we have today. But if you were making a bivy in the 1800s and you were going to do this so exquisitely mathematically, this would simplify to 3 over 10 times the square root of 6. And then you would go to your local library, look up the square root of 6 out to 10 decimals, do 3 times that, then divide by 10. And you would get basically the same answer that we got before. It's 3 divided by 10 times the square root of 6. And you get basically the same answer. You also get 0.73. Like all things in mathematics, if the problem is too hard to solve, break it into a bunch of smaller problems that you can solve and then fit the pieces back together in the end.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Yeah, great question, decent answer. That's the kind of stuff I like. Anyway, yes?
Sorry, I just had a question for the do now problem.
Yeah.
I found the altitude in a different way. Instead of finding the two values for the two bases of the smaller triangles, all I did was I set up a proportion that included the altitude, and that's how I found the value of the altitude.
That's interesting. What proportion did you set up with the altitude?
I did, where is it? 1.8 over 1.6 equals 0.8 over altitude h.
That is a correct proportion. Huh.
And I got 32 over 45, which is like 0.11111111.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Say your proportion one more time. I shouldn't have done it in my head. What do you say?
I got 1.8 over 1.6.
Hold on. So you got BV over IV, okay?
Equals 0.8 over x.
Equals BI over BY. So if you're doing BV over IV, that's first and last divided by the last two. First and last divided, no, this is an incorrect proportion. It would have to be BI over YI, which is an unsolvable proportion because it has two unknowns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're doing BV, so that's first and last, divided by last two IV. For that to line up with the little triangle, it would have to be BI over YI. So that's why you're getting the wrong answer.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, and that's why, no, it's a good question. I'm glad you asked. That's why I am hyper reliant on this for these types of questions, because it is really hard to just be like, well, this angle is the same as this angle, and that's easy to set up the proportions. It's not easy to see because there's actually 3 triangles here, not 2.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Type.
Sure.
And yes?
I'm gonna head out because I finished. I just wanna
Oh,
leave.
wait, okay, before you go, just so y'all know, I'm gonna read out the answers to the homework in case y'all want to listen to that real quick, and then you can totally roll out. So on that first page, here are the answers. Question 1, 4. Question 2, 2 root 6 or 4.9. Question 3, 7.3 or 3 root 6. Question 4, 1. Question 5, 4 root 15, which is about 15.5. Question 6, exactly 10. Question 7, 4 root 30, which is about 21.9, about 22. Question 8, 10 root 10, which is about 31.6. Question 9, 0.4, which is root 2 over 4. Question 10, the square root of 51, which is about 7-ish. Question 11, exactly 8. Question 12, 8.5, which is actually equal to 6 root 2. On the second page, here are the answers. Question 1, x should be equal to the square root of 3. Question 2, x is equal to the square root of 10, y is equal to the square root of 14, z is equal to the square root of 35. Question 3, x is equal to 3, y is equal to 6 root 2, and z is equal to 2 root 2. Question 4, x is equal to exactly 2, and y is equal to exactly 3. Question 5, x is equal to exactly 2, y is equal to 2 root 2, and z is also equal to 2 root 2. And then for question 6, x is equal to 2 root 3, y is equal to 2 root 2, and z is equal to 2 root 6. That's just so that if you're done with your work, you can check it. And of course, if you missed that, this video is going up on YouTube later. So if you want to check the answers later, check the video around the timestamp 25 minutes. Once you're done, you can submit your work, pack up, head out, have a nice day, enjoy your lunch, and I'll see y'all tomorrow for the second part of the lecture where we'll be going deep on the Pythagorean theorem.
Okay, bye, Mr. Robinson.
Bye,
Thank you.
Mr. Robinson. Bye,
Mr.
have a nice day.
You too.
Mr. Robinson, I think
Yeah.
I just realized, I think my proportion is correct because all of the things match up. Because on your thing, I did, so if we're going off the letters you put, I put BV over IV, and then I did equals BI over YI.
Oh, okay, so you did set up the proportion that way.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
that's a correct proportion.
I did YI as the X, and
Uh-huh.
then I did the BI as 0.8.
Yeah, I guess that is all correct. That would give you the correct answer, yeah. But you're not getting the correct answer when you do the cross multiplication?
It's saying 0.8 times 1.6 divided by 0.8. Yeah, it's
Mr.
giving me
Robinson, I just turned it.
0.71 repeating.
You get what repeating?
Have a good day.
0.71 repeating. The
Oh,
one.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah.
I think it's
Alright.
just a rounding error
Yeah, probably.
because when I solved it my way, I get 1.42 and then subtract that from 1.8, which the 1.42 is rounded. And then since it's getting basically multiplied and then square rooted, yeah, there's two sources of rounding error. So actually your answer is better than mine.
All right. Yeah, I turned in the homework. So is it okay if I leave?
Totally, yeah. If you're done, you're done. You have a nice day and I'll see y'all tomorrow.
All right. See you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Or if you finish and you just want to hang out and chit chat, feel free to just hang out and chit chat. I'm on, headphones. So if you just want to talk, feel free. How's it going at home?
The same. Can't do anything different.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I got real bad camping on the brain because me and my wife, we were supposed to go camping over spring break, but of course those plans got canceled. And we had like an awesome trip planned. We were gonna go to Santa Cruz Island and hike like 20 miles across it. And then the town that you finish in on Santa Cruz Island has like spas and stuff. So we were gonna go there, hike for 3 days and rough it in the backwoods. And then on the last day, have a spa day before it took us back to land. So canceling that trip sucked. Huh?
My sister's been to that island.
Oh, just to like go chill?
No, like she went camping there like for the weekend.
Oh, tight. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, the Catalina Island National Park is like very under appreciated just because to get out there you have to take a boat, but it's a national park and it's beautiful and it's right off the coast, so it's actually like surprisingly close to where we live. Fun fact, if you hike, well, you can't hike anywhere now because they closed all the hiking trails, but when the hiking trails are back open, you know those hills that overlook Pasadena?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of hiking trails that will take you up to the top of that ridge. But if you go up to the top of those mountains that overlook the basin of Southern California, on a clear day, from there you can look out at the ocean and see the Catalina Islands.
Wow.
And I bet you could do it right now because the weather is beautiful, even though we can't go outside. And the pollution, like there's almost no smog because nobody's driving.
My mom was driving down our street and there was deer. We've never seen deer.
Oh yeah, they're always up in Pasadena. It's just that normally they hide during the day from people, but yeah, they're like taking over the land again.
There was like 5 deer.
That is kind of awesome. Down where I live by the LA River, we just get coyotes.
We used to get coyotes where we live, but now it's just bears.
Tight.
Like last summer, there was a bear swimming in our pool. And then,
That's freaky.
yeah, and then we called like KTLA or something, and they came and took a video of it, and now it's on YouTube.
Oh, that's cool.
Also, can you repeat the answers for the second page? I hadn't finished like when you were saying it.
Yeah, sure. On the second page, question 1, x is equal to root 3. Question 2, x is equal to root 10, y is equal to root 14, and z is equal to root 35. Question 3, x is equal to exactly 3, y is equal to 6 root 2, z is equal to 2 root 2. Question 4, x is equal to exactly 2, y is equal to exactly 3. Question 5, x is equal to exactly 2, y is equal to 2 root 2, and z is also equal to 2 root 2. That one's isosceles. And then question 6, x is equal to 2 root 3, y is equal to 2 root 2, and z is equal to 2 root 6.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Have fun. I'll see you tomorrow for Pythagorean theorem stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, bye, Miss Robinson.
Bye. Have a nice day.
You too.